my fellow Star Wars collectors. Here we go. I don't think I've launched it. I tried to launch this video and I rambled on way too long. Anyways, here we go. This is what I actually got in for Christmas. Shout out to DC, you know who you are. Gave me a really good deal on this, and I don't think he knows it, but this is in the right hands because I really, really appreciate this. It's not about the money to me. The only thing it's missing is the insert, so it has been opened, which is fine. So at least I know it's been, you know, that it's actually in there. You're not opening up a box full of whatever. It does stand. Look at that. Interesting. It's actually standing better now than what I did when I first pulled it out. Definitely going to clean this up a bit. I'm going to use some hydrogen peroxide. But here it is, the Empire Strikes Back AT-ST. Now, look at the box art. Fantastic. From Zellers. In Zellers in Canada. That's where I got most of my Star Wars stuff. As a kid back in the 80s, I think that was pretty much, I think so. I mean, I could be wrong, but I mean, some of my most vivid memories were Zellers, you know, and getting anything Star Wars back then, I don't know. It was always, I think it was more expensive than G.I. Joe or, so, you know, it was, but anyways, Empire Strikes Back, beautiful box art. This is how they did it right. And this was, if you don't actually know this, the first time the AT-ST came out was in Empire Strikes Back. There's a little scene of it when they're launching, the Empire's launching the attack on Hoth, and you see a little AT-ST. Unfortunately, we didn't get any video of it besides that, any film in the film, which would have been amazing at the time. But, you know, really, it's sort of a sideshow vehicle. And obviously it became widely used in Return of the Jedi and was a main focal point. But anyways, this is the best box art because you got the correct AT-ST driver in, I guess, winter gear. And same with, you know, it's just aesthetically, it's correct. Even in the rear there, they have the right one. Whereas when you look at the Return of the Jedi one, instead of putting the AT-ST driver in there, you got a Stormtrooper. Not that I'm sure a Stormtrooper could drive the vehicle, but anyways. But there it is, Zellers, 10 bucks. Beautiful box. Probably gonna get the inserts on this if I can. You know, and there it is. Look at that. Beautiful box art. And it's so funny how they nailed it so well. I'm trying to be gentle with this with one hand. Look at that. Just 1982. Wow. I mean, that is absolutely incredible. Canada. There you can see a little bit of French. And most importantly, well, not most importantly, but probably the second most important thing is, look at this, Empire Strikes Back. There's the case that I got as a kid. And I got a lot of my Star Wars stuff that I originally started getting was Empire Strikes Back. The card backs, you name it. And you know what? Something can be said about these 12-inchers. Look at that. Awesome. These 12-inch figures were pretty impressive back in the day. You know, I mean, it's C-3PO. What a, you know, wouldn't mind getting all of those one day. That's one thing I honestly never, at least I don't think I ever had a single 12-inch Star Wars figure. I liked the die-cast, but die-cast, I never got any of those. It was always the... you know, the 3 3/4 figures were the ones. Never had that. Got to play with the Snow Speeder. Obviously had the Millennium Falcon. Could have got the, this is the Cloud Car pilot, or ship. this vehicle, whatever you want to call it. I don't even think it's really a fighter, but had the X-Wing. Didn't get the TIE Fighter or Darth Vader's TIE Fighter. You know, I missed those, and that was like oh. I had a chance to buy some of these like secondhand, but I gotta tell you, like, I really wasn't impressed with a lot of the early vehicle, like these early sets. Like even this one, I remember I was at a garage sale and the guy was like selling it for like 15 bucks, but at the time I was just like, oh, that's just cheap cardboard. I wasn't even, you know, as a kid, I wasn't impressed. Interesting games there. And then obviously it's written in French, you know, same thing, but excellent condition. Inserts here. Gives you, I guess, and here's the Star Wars fan club, I think. Counter products, okay, if parts are missing. So I don't know when I was a part of the Star Wars fan club twice, obviously in the original run, and then in the 90s leading up to Phantom Menace, and then I bailed. But anyways, gives you some instructions there. I don't know why they don't make instructions like these anymore, you know, Hasbro. But everything was well put together and organized, you know, and considering they were rushing this line out, it's got to be said for something, you know. But yeah, box is pretty damn good. I mean, I could always toy pull away this, but I think I'll leave it as is. Interesting story. When I was my parents or my mom and I think my aunt, I think this was the time. I could have the story a little messed up, but I actually had this. I was supposed to get this vehicle and a few figures, and I guess when they went out of the checkout line, very interestingly enough, the bag went missing where my stuff was in. So, you know, kind of a really weird kind of story there. Interesting, and this would have been the year that I would have got it. So it wouldn't have been, it wasn't the Return of the Jedi. It was before Return of the Jedi had hit the theaters. I was extremely young, but it was one item I wish I got. But, you know, then my mom would have thrown the box out, you know. In fact, at that age, you know, I would not have, you know, I used to try to keep everything. Where it really started happening, where I started keeping card backs was in 84. 84, 85, but you know, my mom would think that's trash, right? So it would, you know, I was only able to save so much, and where I was really able to start saving some card backs was in 1986, I think, is when I was able to save a few. And then, and a lot of that was also my sister, because she was 2 years older. She was already into comics, and the idea of saving stuff, you know, it was sort of ingrained, taking care of things, but keeping the actual boxes and that, couldn't really do that, you know. Mom just thought it was, you know, keeping garbage or something, you know, off into the recycling bin. I'll never forget the Christmas of 1986 where I was opening them, and then I remember I stopped and I was like, I don't really want to open all these because I liked the card backs. And then as quickly as I was opening them, my mom was putting them in the garbage bag, right? And I was just like, wait a second here. I was able to keep a Return of the Jedi pamphlet, you know, so that was cool. Anyways, interesting story there, going back memory lane. Hindsight is, as they say, is, what's that saying, 2020. Going back, I always wanted to have stacks of this stuff. And you know what? A lot of it's the artistic art. That's what I like about this. It's just the colors of the original Kenner line is, they nailed it, you know. And the original films, you know, I don't like the special editions very much. I think George Lucas downgraded, actually made it worse, like a lot of artists tend to do. I think the other influencers on the original, especially the first two movies, really shows how superior they were from you know, in cinema. I don't know, analytics, just in every measure, it's just off the chart. Return of the Jedi, obviously, you know, was an amazing film. But I can see also some small slight things that it's kind of surprising, but you could see where George went kind of, I guess, sort of more, it was going down the lanes that eventually led to the Phantom Menace, which, they're good movies too, to a certain extent, the prequels, but they're different. I don't know. He started catering to a different vision, which is almost for a different crowd, But anyways, I just finished watching the whole Andor series. I can't say I really had time to properly digest it. I enjoyed it. Seems pretty good, but I'll talk about that more in the future. And it's too fresh in the mind, It's at the end of the day these days, like I'm not... But it kept me entertained. There were some small things that I would have done slightly different, but lots of brilliant Star Wars moments in there. Some people say it's not exactly Star Wars, but, I think in a lot of ways they hit more on the tones of the original trilogy, but it's not done through the eyes of, it's not the space opera in that sense. And I don't have a problem with that, actually. I think that's actually a place where you need to go, because when you have Jedi on the screen and you had that whole story arc, that's a totally different thing than the little people of the galaxy rising up to a certain extent. Obviously the people in some of the characters, Mon Mothma and stuff like that, they're not little people, they're decision makers, and they hold a big stick in the universe to make changes. But anyways, so far I was pretty impressed with it. Yeah, there was a few prop questions I had with it, some of the casting to a certain extent. There's a lot of politics involved in that company. But anyways, you guys want to hear me rant? This is probably the most important piece I've got from the original Kenner collection. I like this better than the AT-AT Walker. The only thing that I think actually surpassed on the AT-AT Walker for the Empire Strikes Back version was the new vintage collection. I think that was actually a massive improvement over the older one, just the box art. But anyways, fantastic stuff. Very happy to get this. One quick story. One of my neighbors actually had this vehicle. I got his AT-AT. That's how I got mine. And I was going to get this off him, but I just sort of missed the window. And then he ended up selling the rest of his stuff off. It was supposed to go to me, but they all had it kind of banged up and everything. And I got a lot of the key things, but I missed out on that. And then the snow speeder, which I was supposed to get off him, but unfortunately I was stuck to getting a lot of things secondhand. But anyways, there it is. Thank you for listening to my craptastic video. On to the next one. I got some more quick vids that are going to come out of some really cool stuff that I actually got off this same gentleman that sold me this. So, some really cool items on the top 10 priority list. In the future, I do want to start rebuilding the Kenner line and start, but I know that's going to start costing me, it's going to get into the more expensive stuff. But you know what? Whatever, man. Less is more too. I'm going to focus, obviously. I just want to get the stuff that really means a lot. This is obviously a key item here, and I got a lot of, this alone is something I wanted back. Just this version of the catalog there, and getting some more figures on card in the future. Maybe get some graded pieces too. I'll see. I'd like to finish up on the TVC, catch up on most of that, which I'm starting to get there. I am deviant. There's so much product out there, and then Black Series and everything, right? So I keep saying I'm going to focus on one thing, but I'm spreading out. So there it is. Sorry, this is a long rant. 15 minutes almost here. Cheers to the next vid.